Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Inside Lowell Daily Pulse, the Tuesday, February 4th edition of the Daily Pulse. I'm your host, Teddy Panos, coming here from the WellPoint Studios here in beautiful downtown Lowell. My guest today, one more time, is, well, there you have it, my most frequent companion so far on the Inside Lowell Daily Pulse, the empty chair. So I'm talking to you today, folks. As we, by design, we want to try to do at least one show a week, if not more, where we're kind of chatting through to you, going through our topics and getting to some feedback from prior shows. And that's certainly what we're going to do on today's Inside Lowell Daily Pulse as we run through tonight's Lowell City Council meeting and what is in store. It's an interesting meeting. They all are for us political junkies and pundits and whatnot. Every city council meeting is interesting, but tonight's has some really interesting things in there, including the wheels being set in motion for a potential tax increase on top of the regular city budget tax increase. We're going to talk about that in a quick second. First, let me welcome you again here to the WellPoint Studios and thank our Inside Lowell Daily Pulse sponsors, Real Estate Ray Booten, licensed realtor in Massachusetts and New Hampshire, certified appraiser in both of those states as well. So if you're looking to buy or sell a residential property or a commercial property, Real Estate Ray Booten is your man. Find him online, realestaterayBooten.com. Thank you to Ray, and again, thanks to our friends at WellPoint for hosting us here in the WellPoint Studios. WellPoint is the only healthcare plan offering health benefits exclusively to Massachusetts GIC members. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. Thank you, Ray. Thank you, WellPoint. We'll thank our other sponsors in just a few minutes, but let's get right down to it. Tonight at 6:30, the Lowell City Council will meet in council chambers, and kind of busy for lately agenda with, I believe it had 10 or maybe 11 items in terms of councilor motions, a bunch of manager reports and some informational reports, and then they're going to graduate into executive session where I believe the most impactful discussion on Lowell's future will take place. But let's kind of start in order here as we run down some of the council motions. 5.1. Motion by Councilor Corey Robinson. He's looking for cameras on school buses. Let me read. I printed out the agenda here for you. You too can get it, lowellma.gov. They publish it every Friday by noontime. You can go over and see it, and you can download all the reports. I'm going to show you some graphics, by the way, of things that we're talking about. I want to highlight them for you, but you can get this yourself, and I recommend everybody do it. Be aware of what the council is going to be talking about. There's always a lot of good information in those informational packets and stuff that sometimes doesn't get addressed during the ensuing Tuesday meeting. But motion 5.1, Councilor Robinson, request city manager have the proper department explore the pros and cons of implementation of S.3005, I believe that's a state Senate bill, automated traffic enforcement cameras on school buses in our community. Traffic cameras. I always cringe when I hear traffic cameras, right? Because there's large cities around the world, I think London front and center among them, where they've got like traffic cameras at like every intersection, and they use those cameras to fine you, to get you, run a red light, block an intersection, you're subject to those fines. So I always get a little, the little civil libertarian in me gets a little bit anxious when I hear about cameras, especially being used in traffic enforcement. To me, that's a bridge gone too far. I know that they're out there. I know that they exist. I know certain crimes are solved. The Karen Reed case, which we all followed, some of those cameras were disabled as part of the investigation of the footage mysteriously disappearing so that you couldn't put a timeline together. But this one in particular, if those cameras are simply used to kind of crack down on people who completely disrespect the rules of the road involving school buses, to me, that's a serious issue. And, I'm open to somebody changing my mind. I'm open to a discussion on the floor tonight, or when the report comes back from the manager's office. I'm open to at least listening to the cons of it, and maybe I can change my mind. But it's not a bad thing. Maybe on a short term, maybe if they're not permanent, maybe we can kind of train people's behavior to stop being bleep holes on the road. You know, I know you're in a hurry. I'm in a hurry. We all have places we need to get to, and we're all the most important person on the road, right? But, you know, it's people who are running past school buses that have their lights flashing and the stop sign out there. You're endangering young kids that sometimes don't know better and enthusiastically going to run out across that bus into the street to get to mom or dad or whoever's waiting for them at the bus stop. So if we can somehow drill home and change people's behavior, I think I'm okay with at least exploring it and seeing if we can get those cameras on the school buses. See, and who said I'm not open to new ideas and crackdowns. Council Motion 5.4, Councilor 𝐓𝐫𝐢𝐻𝐿𝐻𝐿𝐻𝐿 requests the city manager have the Lowell Police Department provide their official policy for interacting with Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, and how they plan to communicate that policy to the Lowell community. Now, we talked about this a little bit on a couple of episodes of the Daily Pulse last week. A lot of folks are freaking out. The schools have put out their notices, you know, that if ICE comes, know this, the hospitals, everybody's, you know, got a policy out there. Don't call the attorneys, do this, do that, don't turn anyone over, blah, 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 for how to deal with ICE in case ICE is going to schools, which they're not. They haven't up to this point. Or hospitals, they're not. They haven't up to this point. They've been really good at apprehending like lifelong career criminals, threats to society in front of courthouses and, you know, maybe on the streets in their apartments. They haven't gone to schools yet, but I'll be curious what, I don't know if Police Chief Greg Hudon will be there tonight to respond directly to this, or if this will come in a motion response in one of the future city council meetings. But I hope that Superintendent Hudon's response comes back something along the lines of this. It is the policy of Lowell Police Department to comply with all laws that we are sworn to uphold. And that includes federal immigration laws. And at the very least, if Lowell Police isn't going to chase people who might be in the country illegally and have committed numerous crimes in there, I hope I don't see anything that becomes like an impediment to ICE officials. I don't think we will. I don't think that's the policy of the Lowell Police Department. You saw a case over the summer where Lowell police arrested an illegal immigrant who allegedly raped a young girl, a minor in the city of Lowell, and then got apprehended eventually. And ICE officials were not happy. They put out a statement. You can find it on InsideLowell.com. You know, ICE reacting to arresting a Lowell resident who was here illegally and allegedly raped an underage girl. And Lowell police, from what I was able to find, did their job. Arrested them, turned them over to Middlesex DA, Middlesex County Sheriff's Office, etc., and didn't in any way impede ICE's efforts. Now, there's some dispute whether the court did or other people did, but we should ask our officers to do something that could get them in trouble and also may violate their oath, right? They take an oath when they're sworn to be police officers. They're supposed to uphold the laws and enforce the laws of our land. And at the very least, there's a chain of command, right? They the Lowell police, they'll respond to the scene of a shooting, and you find out there's a victim and perhaps a homicide victim, and eventually they turn over while they're still active in the investigation. Control of the case gets turned over to the Middlesex DA, or if they're doing it in conjunction with state police, state police may, kind of trump. Sorry, it's a Trigger 'em Tuesday today. That's our theme today. So I said the name Trump. I hope I didn't trigger everybody out there. I probably triggered a few of you though. But, there's a chain of command that is followed in certain cases. And when it comes to immigration cases, federal officers, ICE, and other federal law enforcement entities, and there's a new sheriff in town running these entities, it's not a picnic anymore for some folks. That chain of command needs to be followed. I certainly hope when Lowell Police responds to Councilor Noon's motion that there is some language in there saying that we do not impede federal law enforcement officers when they are legally acting within our city limits. So far, ICE hasn't come to Lowell that we know of, but they will. They will. You can rest assured that they will. The other motion that Councilor Noon filed that I want to highlight, and I've confirmed that there are 10 city council motions on this agenda here. I don't know if you can see that there, but there are 10. 5.5, that was the next motion by Councilor Noon. Request the city manager provide a report on the feasibility of increasing the current Community Preservation Act surcharge and an outline of the process necessary to implement a change in the surcharge amount. Now, the motion asks for a report on the feasibility of increasing the Community Preservation Act surcharge, the CPA. You remember this a few years back when Lowell went to the ballot box and somehow got tricked into a form of what I call, this is my editorial position here, but since Proposition 2.5 overrides are very difficult to pass in municipal communities, the state gave them this vehicle called the Community Preservation Act, where in the name of preserving open space and green space and parks and recreation, preserve the community, Community Preservation Act. Oh, and also do historic preservation, that's preservation, and build housing. Build housing too, that's a big part of community preservation. Here's the report from January 29th, because coincidentally, on tonight's City Council agenda is the report on the 10 projects that are receiving CPA funding in Lowell for 2025. We've set up a committee and they take all the proposals and they decide which ones are going to get funded. And there you see, I've highlighted it in yellow. CPA revenues for each of the three following categories. Open space / outdoor. That's number one. There's a reason that's number one, folks, because that's the one they want you to see when you suckers went and voted yes on putting in a CPA fund in the city of Lowell. You voted yourself a tax increase. And then they put historic preservation and community housing. Notice community housing went last on that list. Again, you read from left to right, and when you read in order, you see the open space and outdoor recreation. Well, if I'm going to put a tax on myself, it's for open space and recreation. Sure, I'm all about preserving my community. Historic preservation? Hell yeah, we're in Lowell, the cradle of the Industrial Revolution. We're all about preserving the community. Building more housing? Are we preserving the community? Are we overcrowding the community? Are we using land that is now open and building on it? Is that Community Preservation Act funding? Hold that thought for 1 minute. We're going to get back to that one, but Councilor Noon wants a report on the feasibility of increasing that tax. Lowell, don't fall for it again. You fell for it once. You fell for it once. They know it's how difficult it is to pass a Prop 2.5 override unless it's a specifically targeted and very needy project. You see what all these outside communities are doing. This is a kind of a way to bypass that, although the city of Lowell can still tax above 2.5 because they're underneath the levy, but that's intentional, and city manager after city manager has kept it that way intentionally for obvious reasons. Lowell is a rather, low-income community compared to some of these ritzier ones, but I asked the city council, don't fall for it. Don't do it. Don't fall for this again. And I'll tell you in a few minutes why, because I'm going to go through this city council agenda in order, and we're going to get to the 10 projects that have been funded by this CPA fund that is preserving, quote unquote, our community and our open land and our recreation areas. You're tuned into the Inside Lowell Daily Pulse on this Tuesday, February 4th, 2025. It's a Trigger 'em Tuesday edition of the Daily Pulse, which means I'm basically here solo with an empty chair as my co-host. At least I have my friends from the Chamber of Commerce out there in the office, and I feel like I'm talking to somebody in person, but really, I'm talking to you out there. This Inside Lowell Daily Pulse is brought to you by Real Estate Ray Booten, licensed realtor, certified appraiser in Massachusetts and New Hampshire. If you want to buy or sell a home or a commercial property, get to realestaterayBooten.com. That's the one website. He's the one man or woman that you need to be in touch with, realestaterayBooten.com. Thank you as well to our friends at WellPoint. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. As you can see by the signage around me and my guest today, we're in the WellPoint studios, folks. Love it. Washington Savings Bank, banking that feels like home. What could be more homey than this great mug that they gave me with the Washington Savings Bank logo? Make the switch now to Washington Savings Bank. TMI Properties, it's TMI Tuesdays on the Inside Lowell Facebook page. Quality and value at every price point. Find your perfect space at TMI. Mahoney Oil, providing warmth and protection to Greater Lowell and Southern New Hampshire since 1925. Don't get fooled by that little mild spell yesterday into last night. It's going to turn cold again. That wind's probably going to kick up by the time you're watching this podcast later on today or tonight or whenever. Make sure you've got Mahoney Oil on your side. They've been keeping us warm and safe for a century. The Greater Lowell Community Foundation, improving the quality of life in Greater Lowell through strategic, impactful philanthropy. Francis E. Preventure Insurance, the agency Greater Lowell has counted on since 1982. And by the Massachusetts Pirates, bringing all the hard-hitting action and excitement of arena football to the Mill City. The Pirates season opener this year, Friday, March 21st, at the Tasongas Center. We return to today's Inside Lowell Daily Pulse, and those are all the council motions. Again, go to lowellma.gov. You can see the full agenda. All the motions have something important in there. There's traffic engineer request to calm speeding on East Merrimack Street. There's updates on comparing the LHS, Lowell High School project, to other MSBA projects. We're getting to that in a second here, folks. But I want to move to the items 6 on the agenda, communications from the city manager. There are 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C, D, E, motion responses from the manager. And that's city council motions from prior weeks. The manager, they ask for a report. The communications are the city manager's report. Motion report C, the Downtown Lowell BID, BID. Get ready, because I feel it's time to talk about this, and because I've been an important part of it. I've been a part of the discussions about it. It's not an important. Sorry, I shouldn't have said important. I'm really not that important a part, but I've been part of these efforts for multiple years now, stretching back to City Manager Eileen Donahue when I was first became actively involved with this, and now we've gone a lot farther down the road under the administration of City Manager Tom Golden. So you're going to see, again, there's a report on this that spells it all out on the City of Lowell website. Let's see here. How can let me call up that right slide for you here. Giving me technology, by the way, is a bad thing here. But this is the report. You can see the full report. City of Lowell Business Improvement District Analysis, a proposed bid district. That is, they've laid out a footprint in downtown Lowell, your business improvement district, and folks in that who own property in that business improvement district, excluding small residential and condo units, are going to voluntarily give themselves a property tax increase of somewhere from 3 to 4, maybe 5%. Now, for those of you who say I'm always talking against new taxes or any taxes, and I certainly have warned you not to fall for the CPA thing, I'm in favor of the bid thing. I've been a proponent of it, and I'm glad to see it happening because I believe the bid process allows the city of Lowell, and specifically the stakeholders in that district, the property owners in that district, to direct funds towards projects that will improve their district. In this particular case, downtown Lowell. Now, I want to just switch the slide here quickly and show you the wording you will see on that report. Go down again to where I've highlighted. They tell you the steering committee, of which I have been sitting on and been to a bunch of meetings regarding it. First, I do want to clarify, I am not a property owner. I've been representing my father, who owns the property at where the Athenian Corner restaurant is. I'm kind of his representative for language reasons, more so than anything else. And who knows, he may kill me when he finds out that I'm advocating to increase his commercial property taxes. I may end up being written out of the will. It'll all go to my sister in St. Paris of Andover. But just to clarify, I'm not a property owner. I am a business owner through InsideLowell, which is also located here in downtown Lowell. But the point of this bid, Business Improvement District, is to voluntarily increase a tax, which the city of Lowell collects as part of your property tax bill. And then the city of Lowell also is contributing money towards this. And then there are also grants that you become eligible for, and you can then apply where this money will be spent. And there's a number of different ways it can be spent. And there are a ton of communities that have done these before: Cambridge, Somerville. Throughout the country, a lot of communities are using this to make significant changes, improvements inside of those business districts. And the best part of this is that while, yes, the city of Lowell will collect this, voluntary tax increase, and once it gets voted on, it's no longer voluntary, and there's a certain formula for how many people need to vote to approve it within that business district before it becomes enacted. But I think I'm pretty optimistic that based on the people who are serving on that committee with me and who we have contacted and have pledged their support for it, I'm optimistic that finally, after years of trying this, my efforts go back to City Manager Eileen Donoghue and maybe even before her administration. But, just as we got the ball rolling under Manager Donoghue, COVID hit and the world, as we know it, ceased to move forward, and we had to kind of veer off into new directions. But glad to see that the manager and his Department of Planning and Development team here have resuscitated it. Again, the amount you'll pay extra isn't all that much, but the city could theoretically raise the bid, I should say, the Business Improvement District could raise $800,000 to maybe $1 million, depending on if they go to 3% or 5%. But it's a significant amount of money. But the reason that I support this, the reason why this is a tax increase that I actually support is because, well, we're collectively, as property owners, business owners in the downtown, we're choosing to do this. But the most important part is we control this money. We determine where the money will be spent. Now, one of the pushbacks on it is that, well, the city is just going to look and see where you are spending, where the bid, the committee that is set up and determining how to spend it, they'll see where you're spending it, and then they won't spend it. on there, they'll just take that out of the city budget, money that they would have already appropriated, but they're like, we can save on that. I will tell you, for those of you out there who are concerned about this, my reason for being in this and my push the entire time as I've been on this steering committee is to use programs that won't let the city have that out clause. Not that I don't trust them. I'm always skeptical, though, of government. But my vision of this bid is to implement a program that the city of Lowell isn't going to implement for this business improvement district, which is its downtown. A free shuttle service to get you back and forth from garages to your destinations. Other types of things, different communities have done different things, but my push, I don't know if I'll be successful, and I hope people will, fall in line with me. But when I brought this up, it seemed to have some kind of widespread support within the steering committee that was there at that meeting. If we use this money on things that the city wasn't going to use it on anyway, we can make a significant impact in cleaning up, in beautifying, in making it easier to navigate our downtown and that business improvement district, and ways to encourage people to come into that business improvement district. So for those of you who are watching this and saying, well, there goes Panos, he's railing against the CPA funds, which I'm going to do a little bit more in a second, but he's supporting a tax increase with the bid. Yes, but our control, and it is my hope and my belief that it will be used in a way that will benefit not just this district, but everybody in the city of Lowell. So that's one thing that is being brought up tonight as a city manager report. I'll be curious how in-depth they get on it. The other part, item D, 6.1D on the city manager reports, is contact the governor, the federal, and the state delegation regarding funding for the LTLC, the Lowell Transitional Living Center, the homeless shelter in downtown Lowell. Don't bother contacting the governor unless it's to tell her to stop making mental health services cuts. For the love of God, Governor Healy, everybody's telling you there's a mental health crisis and you're cutting mental health care. She did backtrack a little. We talked about it on yesterday's Daily Pulse with Greg Pappas. We talked about it in a big way Friday with Jo Marie Buckley on the Daily Pulse about how the governor, in the middle of a mental health crisis, is slashing the number of mental health case workers from 340 to 170 and also closing down a couple of facilities. Yesterday, there was talk that the governor is potentially backtracking on her plans to close one of those facilities. I think it's called the Pappas Center, and I believe it's down on Cape Cod. Don't quote me on that, but I believe that is what, there's a little bit of a backslide there from the governor. I'm not sure the House of Representatives or the state Senate was going to let her get away with some of those drastic cuts. But, the fact that it was even proposed in the midst of a public mental health crisis, I mean, come on. Got to be better than that, Governor Healy. All right. Informational reports. That's one of the other items that follows on the city council agenda. And there's one that jumped out at me. LHS SBC update and CO log. LHS, Lowell High School. SBC, School Building Committee. And there's a long report in there about some of the issues that have been much publicized, especially in the last month, with problems at the high school and the construction. But there's stuff in there, and let's get out of the bid thing for a second, and let's go into one of the pages on this informational report. And that is the budget summary for Lowell High School, where we are in terms of the budget summary as of January 2025. And there you see the total project budget, $381, nice $40 million increase thanks to COVID and rising costs. we were told. But thankfully, Senator Kennedy and the rest of the delegation were able to secure some more money for that through the SBA, the Mass School Building Authority, and there we go. But one of the concerns that I have had, and I keep talking about, is the cost overruns. And we can blame that first $40 million that took us from 340 and some change up to 381, really closer to 382 if you look at that. 381,967,231. But how much is this project being shoehorned into a very tight footprint using existing buildings that, though we were told, had already remediated certain harmful materials, asbestos and whatnot? We warned you back at the time that's not the case. We were right, but that's okay. Water under the bridge. We got to deal with it. But look at the area that I highlighted there and the little red circle. The construction contingency. $21 million was originally budgeted for contingencies, and that is for unforeseen costs of construction. That's built into the 381 million whatever. That's built into it. $21 million. And to date, as of January 2025, you see that there are 30 change orders already that have cost $11,654,448. More than half of the construction contingency fund, leaving you a remaining balance highlighted in yellow of $9.548 million in contingency. You're like, all right, well, they've done about 60%, 65% of the project. They've got a good amount of money remaining. And then I circled the pending change requests. These are change requests that are asked for because, for whatever reason, they need to make changes. They found something they didn't expect. Harmful chemicals, I don't know, a bee behind a wall that they didn't know existed. Whatever the case may be, mold under floors that have been flooded for 100 years. Look at that dollar amount, $6 million. There are pending change requests. Now, what I'm not sure of, and hopefully we'll get a response tonight, and if a city councilor is watching this, please hone in on this. Are you listening, Councilor 𝐓𝐿𝐥𝐬𝐢? Because I know these are the kind of things you'll hone in on. Of these change requests, have they been approved already? Do they have to be approved? Are they things that are absolutely positively necessary? Because once these change requests go through, you now have $3.5 million in a contingency remaining. And at the rate we're gobbling them up, at the rate we're gobbling up these contingency funds, as we continue to dive deeper and deeper into the most difficult part of this project, and that is the renovation of the existing buildings, not the tearing down of the dentist office and the building of the new gym for all its problems. Yeah, that was the easy part. The tearing down of one of the 1980 buildings, the old Riddick Fieldhouse, and part of the Lord building, that they built a brand new building there. Again, easy. Now they're getting into they're not building any more new buildings. They're trying to fix the old ones where all of these problems pop up. By my calculations, there's going to be $3.5 million in the construction contingency remaining, and you've still got a good year and a half, if not longer, of this project to go at Lowell High School. Now there is, if you look over a little bit to the right, you'll notice the owner contingency. So I'm not sure if that's the owner puts aside a little extra money, and if they can keep the contingency funds from being eaten up, that becomes part of their profit at the end of it. I'm not sure about that, but there's another $1.8 million that we potentially could be played with there. I'm not completely sure, but we should be alarmed by the fact that with the pending change request, there's only about $3.5 million of contingency funds remaining. in that Lowell High School project. And as we sit here in February of 2025, February 4th of 2025, they're telling us that school isn't slated to be open until August of 2026. You ask them how confident they are, and listen to their answers. Ask again tonight. Ask the city manager or Mr. Dowd or whoever happens to be there tonight. One of the councils, ask them how confident they are about that August 2026 thing. And let me know if that voice projects confidence or if it tells you no bleeping way. Anyway, couple of other things on the city council agenda tonight, but when they adjourn, when Mayor Dan Rourke bangs that gavel and calls the meeting to an end, they will then move into executive session, city council executive session 11.1, to consider and discuss the possible acquisition of property at 40 Market Street, public discussion of which may have detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the city. So this is the second time that item has come up. 40 Market Street is down across the street from Brewed Awakening Coffee House, my old morning stomping grounds, WCAP. But that's the Align Credit Union building. It used to be the Colonial Gas and National Grid building. If I'm not mistaken, at one point it used to be the old police station. And I've heard speculation that the city is looking to acquire that property, is in negotiations to buy that property to make it the new police headquarters. I don't know if that's, I'm not so sure. I've tried to kick around. People are very tight-lipped, not a lot of information about that. But there is a little bit of a parking lot in the back there. I don't know how much of it is owned by Align. I don't know how many places it can save. I don't know if it has enough room for all of the city's cruisers and other vehicles. I don't know if there's a garage there where they can actually work on and repair the cruisers. So if I was a betting man, I don't think that's going to be the new site of the police station. If I was a betting man, I'd tell you the police station stays where it is, or it goes to, I think I can probably start to rule out the courthouses, but I don't really know where the new police station goes, if they even get to a new police station. My hunch is the city is looking to do something else with that. Would they consider moving another department in there? Maybe they move maybe they'll move the bid team in there, the business improvement district, since I believe that'll be right in the heart of that footprint. But we'll, at some point, we'll get, it looks like the fact that this is the second time this has been brought up tells me that the negotiations continue to progress and we may have a deal. So at some point in the next few weeks or so, maybe something will become public and we'll find out what the city does indeed plan to do with that and how that affects the other dominoes. But there's a second item on the executive session agenda, and that is, and further, to consider and discuss ongoing negotiations relative to Lowell's front-runner city designation. Now we're in my sweet spot, the front-runner city, which I believe is kind of the city of Lowell's hope to reinvent itself, to have an industrial revolution type rebirth 160 some odd years after the original one. But you'll remember back on December, I believe it was the December 7th, city council agenda where the council went public and talked about it and expressed their hope and their optimism for this front-runner city thing, and authorized city manager Tom Golden to start negotiating an MOU, a memorandum of understanding with what I'll call the front-runner city people. Front-runner cities is a United Nations type designation. The UN has all sorts of these little things underneath them, satellite arms underneath them. Front-runner cities is one of them. SDC, Sustainable Development Cities, is part of it. If you go back to that December 7th, I believe that was the date. Don't shoot me if I'm off by a day or two, but it's easy to find. They didn't have too many meetings in December. There was a report in there about front-runner cities and SDCs, and you will see kind of why all this excitement in the city of Lowell. In subsequent weeks, we've had the mayor on here sitting in what is now that empty chair. And we've had the city manager sitting in that same chair. And they have talked about what this memorandum of understanding, what this front-runner city designation for the city of Lowell could mean for the city. And we've gone from, link size, Lowell Innovation Network Corridor, which is UMass Lowell's project of $800 million. We've gone from that into the B word, folks, the billions. Mayor Rourke said this could be worth $1 billion+ in development to the city of Lowell. Manager Golden didn't back off from that when he came in the following week. And we'll get him in here soon again to once they're able to go public with this. But I'm wondering, as I see this on the agenda, and I saw it on the agenda Friday, and again, everyone continues to be tight-lipped. When they redid like all these rooms in City Hall after the cyber attack, and they got hacked into, they took away my implanted cameras. I used to have implanted cameras that used to get me all this information from City Hall, and they found them, and they removed them. So now I got to find a new way to get in there and plant some cameras, especially into the room where they have those executive sessions, so that I could find out what's going on and tell you folks, not for my own personal benefit, but because I want to tell you folks. Anyway, watch for that. You probably won't hear anything on that in the coming days. I mean, we do have City Councilor Cory Belanger joining us tomorrow. We'll see if we can get him to spill some beans. But my hunch is in the coming week or two, we will have a lot more publicly available information on both that property at 40 Market Street that the city is looking to acquire and what they want to acquire it for. And then the front-runner city designation, which I am extremely excited about. I know my friend Marty Laurie. We've done some Mondays with Marty. He's been a little bit skeptical of it. I don't blame him. He's heard the promises over the Hamilton Canal Innovation District a million times, but this is something different. I'm optimistic. I've never been more optimistic about the city of Lowell's future. I've never been more optimistic about its ability to transform itself from a place where it's just known as a gateway city for low-income people, new arrivals into the country to come in and receive the services that will hopefully help them move up into the productive members of society and the working classes and middle classes and upper classes. I think Front-Runner City combined with Link has the ability to transform Lowell into a greatness that the city occupied in the times of the Industrial Revolution, when we were the leader of when cotton was king, as the famous book. I think that was the first book written about Lowell National Historical Park and Lowell's history. I'm really optimistic about that, folks. I'm still, and I understand a lot of this is behind the scenes, but I think we're about to the point where it's going to start to get public. And I hope when it does that what I've read up about what happens in Toronto and Regent Park, and I forget the name of there's another community up there which has seen this, Front-Runner City, SDC investments, World Pavilion is another buzzword, another arm of the United Nations that's thrown out there. I've read up on that. I've looked into it. If that stuff happens in Lowell, man, it's all the Lowell jokes, which I am more than happy to participate in, folks. I think we can finally kiss the high on Crack Street era goodbye. And I think we can make Lowell a model as opposed to a negative talking point. All right, that's about it. Gone close to 45 minutes here on this Trigger 'em Tuesday. I hope I didn't trigger you folks too much. Along the lines of a Wing It Wednesday or a Thrilling Thursday, as I've dubbed the shows that I've done alone in the past. But tomorrow on the Inside Lowell Daily Pulse, Lowell City Councilor Cory Belanger will be joining us. On Thursday, Ryan Gilday, the Lowell Citizen, will join us. He's been writing his city council recaps again in a different form on InsideLowell.com. Check him out. Looking forward to getting Ryan's take on the entire meeting, not just what he reports on. And then on Friday, we'll have a Pod Squad Friday with Mike Batchagalupo, Michaela Hondras McCarthy, Batch and the Hyphen, as they are known, the Pod Squad. They're going to join us here on the Inside Lowell Daily Pulse. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for tolerating it. Again, I hope I didn't trigger you too much on this Trigger 'em Tuesday, but a lot of good information out there, a lot of good things happening, and tonight could be a sneaky consequential night on the Lowell City Council floor, even if we might not find out about it for a couple more weeks. Till tomorrow, everybody stay safe, stay warm, and thanks for tuning in.